All right, so much has changed, and today we're bringing you an updated
Okay.
top 40 running back rankings. We're going to be focusing more on Zach rankings. We're going to be having conversations, bringing 7 tiers of running backs for you, and just having conversations because, once again, so much has changed already through 7 weeks of the fantasy football season. So let's not
Oh my
waste
gosh.
any more
It's crazy,
time.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually kind of wild, and some people that we were not expecting to probably even be in the top 10. So let's definitely have some conversations.
Yeah.
Take us through your first tier coming into
All right.
this.
Yeah, like you said, top 40 here. And I'll just say from the get-go, I feel like I'm reevaluating, every week, every month, every year,
Yeah.
how I value certain positions in Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this year more than ever, I feel like we should. There are certain things where you don't want to overreact, and there's certain things where you don't want to underreact. But I feel like I am taking it more year by year with Dynasty running backs, rather than projecting so far into the future, because it is the most injured position.
Yeah.
And yeah, you might have a guy ranked top 5, and then he blows out his knee and his Achilles. Shout out to J.K. Dobbins. We never had him top 5, but do you know what I mean? So trying to rank things, not so far into the future with the running back position. So. Yeah. In my first tier, Bijan Robinson is definitely the RB1. He was our RB1 before the year began, and he is the RB1 now. I don't see any reason to change that. The dude is a dynamic, electric playmaker, as advertised, averaging over 5 yards per carry, an absolute unit through the air. I know last week we saw him with the one-handed grab.
Yeah,
that guy's looking
wild.
like OBJ out there. A true, next generation Christian McCaffrey in my mind. So he is, without doubt, the most valuable running back and worthy of a first-round pick in a Dynasty Superflex startup draft, in my opinion.
No doubt about it.
The only other guy that I would have here, and I really contemplated this for quite some time. Man, Bijan should be in his own tier. He really should.
Okay.
But the more I think about it, I do believe that Breece Hall is also worthy of being in tier 1 with Bijan Robinson. Young player, second year of his contract. Now, it took a while for him to really get going. That's because they had him on a snap count. Clearly, Dalvin Cook is absolutely washed. But the last 2 weeks, we finally have seen him completely freed. He, in 2 weeks in a row, highest snap percentage on the year. Win off versus Denver, that's fine. But then also win off versus Dallas. A threat in the air, extremely efficient on the ground, on an offense that should get better. Right. Zach Wilson should get better, and eventually you'll have Aaron Rodgers for at least a year, if not more. So, this is the definition of someone that you want to build your team around, in my opinion. So that's who I would have in my tier 1.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. Bijan, phenomenal. Currently, right now, as we are recording this, we are going into week 7, so keep that in mind as you are watching this video. We are, once again, leading into week 7. Bijan Robinson, RB8, averaging over 15 fantasy points per game. And Breece Hall, getting ramped up and being a top 16 running back on the year so far with really, if you think about it, 2 games with over, 50% of the snap share. Imagine if he would have, at the end of this season, where Breece Hall is going to be, it could be definitely neck and neck as the season comes.
Dude, since they took him off that snap count, he's averaging over 24 PPR points per game.
It's wild.
Insane usage. So,
yeah. Love it.
All right, so into my second tier here. These are guys that I would consider elite Dynasty running back assets.
Okay.
And I feel comfortable winning right now with these guys. That is Christian McCaffrey. Okay. The reason you and I never had him tier 1 this offseason was because of the injury concerns, was because of the age. Most of our rankings this offseason would have had him tier 2. We tried to respect him as a win now asset, but also realizing that at some point every running back does break down. I'm not projecting that on CMC whatsoever. I think you still have another really good 2, maybe 3 years if you're lucky, but he doesn't have the youth that these other guys in this tier does. Love Travis Etienne, my guy. I've been battling for this man all offseason. Somehow, I thought we would all be on the same page. I'm not saying you, Badake, but I thought we would, as a community, all be on the same page that after what Travis Etienne did in his rookie year, right? Because he didn't play in his rookie year. Last year, what he showed us over 1,300 all-purpose yards. Extremely efficient. I thought we'd all be on the same page that this first-round talent with this former, teammate at Clemson would be, one of those star status running backs. But there was a lot of disagreement. A lot of people telling me Tank Bigsby was going to take his job. You and I just had to kind of fight through that and say, look, Tank is going to be a great compliment, but he is not taking that job.
He is not taking it
and I
away.
think that's been extremely clear so far this year. We are loving Travis Etienne, currently RB3 on the year. Now, he's going to have some bust games, as some running backs do. He is not Christian McCaffrey-esque, but he's a young running back. He's got his fifth-year option if the team wants to pick him up. Him and Trevor Lawrence have insane chemistry and is averaging over 19 points per game, which is hilarious because I remember seeing tweets where people were like, how are you guys really valuing Travis Etienne as a third-round pick in redraft? Like, really? He's never averaged over X amount of points per game. It
was wild.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I guess that's me flexing. There's no humility.
You got to flex
so
a little
far
bit,
in my
100%.
rankings. That's my bad. Because here's time for some humility. Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, my RB5. I had him more ranked around my RB8 heading into the year. I was pretty concerned about Zach Charbonnet. Now, this is one of those things where we can't really identify exactly what this backfield looks like at the end of the season. But as of right now, Kenneth Walker looks like the clear workhorse, and Zach Charbonnet just looks like a complementary piece at this point, almost like Tank Bigsby, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
So, Kenneth Walker, I'll eat some humble pie there. I had him ranked, 3 or 4 spots higher than this coming into the year, but he looks absolutely incredible. And the last running back I would have there is Jonathan Taylor. Now, in my opinion, what we are currently in before week 7 is a buy low window on Jonathan Taylor. I know Zach Moss has looked great. He's looked fantastic. But I am betting that this team who paid Jonathan Taylor $42 million in a market where no running backs are seeing that kind of contract, I am going to go ahead and bet that he will be the focal point of this offense in the next 3 to 4 weeks as he gets more healthy, as his snap counts get higher. I'm not saying Zach Moss will be irrelevant because he's played well, but I also just don't believe that he's the future of this team. I think Jonathan Taylor is, based off of what they've shown us financially in a market where no one's doing that. So that is my tier 2 there personally. Look,
completely agree here. I love Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Taylor. If you were somebody that drafted Jonathan Taylor, I guess I'm thinking more redraft in the second, third round. You kind of lucked out. That he came back this year with all that drama, specifically to this team as well, because we were concerned that he was going to go to another team and not look the same or be in a whole different regime. This regime here, I think, definitely fits him with Anthony Richardson, specifically this year being out as well. We don't know what that's going to look like with JT and Richardson.
But we have seen, the good news there is that we have seen him be pretty successful with the likes of, Zach Moss be pretty successful.
Yeah, with the likes of Anthony Richardson.
Full Anthony Richardson-based offense.
And how they can use it.
So that gives me a lot of hope, moving forward. But, man, Jonathan Taylor, he got his bag, so I guess it worked out for him.
I guess so.
I guess holding out worked.
I guess so. One other thing I wanted to talk about is Kenneth Walker really quick and Zach Charbonnet.
Okay.
Just to bring my 2 cents in, and maybe other people in the community feel the same way.
Yeah.
At the moment, the way it feels like, once again, recording this only through week 7, it feels like Zach Charbonnet is just the backup. And
that's what it feels like.
He is not going to take over this role whatsoever or have a 50-50 type of workload or 60-40 type of workload, which is really concerning because, one thing I've been hearing in the last 7 weeks is that Pete Carroll just wanted a good running back to back up his good running back. When Rashad Penny was there, or not Rashad Penny or Chris Carson, their backups were 5th, 4th, 3rd rounder type guys that they couldn't really rely on. Zach Charbonnet is, I guess, not an identical running back to Kenneth Walker, but can play and has the same strengths. Not only that, can be a pass-catching back. So Zach Charbonnet, I'm not necessarily sure what's going to happen, but Kenneth Walker at this moment feels very safe in Dynasty perspective, but anything could change in the weeks to come for sure.
Yeah, 100%. He remains an elite handcuff at this point in his Dynasty status. All right, my tier 3. People might start getting upset here.
Oh boy, here we
People
go.
might start getting upset.
Maybe this is where we disagree.
Let's see. My running back 7 in Dynasty, Devon Achane. My running back 8, Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, there's plenty to talk about here, I'm sure. I'll just fill out the rest of this tier, and then I'm open for any questions that you have. But Josh Jacobs would be the next guy, Saquon Barkley, and then Tony Pollard. That would be my top 11, if you will, in Dynasty running back rankings so far. Jacobs, Saquon, Tony, elite redraft assets right now, but no long-term security. Big question marks on what their future looks like. So a little bit concerned as far as what does next year look like. I think Jacobs and Saquon, I have more confidence in their role regardless of what team they're on.
Right.
Whereas with Tony, I still think he'll be an elite game-changing threat, but I'm not sure what the volume will be.
Right.
If he's in Dallas or if they draft the running back, whatever the case may be. But I also hate the way they're using Tony right now. They're just halfback dive every time, straight into the defensive line. Like, put that guy in space. Yeah. That's where he's dynamic. Yeah. Like, what was that Sunday or Monday Night Football game where just Chargers, run him up the middle 15 times as if that's going to work? But anyway, I want to hear any questions that you have. I know Achane there might be surprising for some people, so let me know what you got.
No, look, I can understand with Devon and what's been happening. You know me and my concerns. You guys know me in the Dynasty channel. My biggest concern with Devon is that what is that long-term thing going to look like? And I know as coming into this video, you said it's kind of hard to look into that window because so much can change. I think if something can change for Devon, if anything changes for Devon, where like someone like a Josh Jacobs or a Saquon does go to this team and they pay them big money, that's where my concern lies. I'm not saying, and I'm giving Devon his flowers, and I'm saying kudos to you because I wasn't somebody that believed in Devon. It's just more of like, what is that long-term question mark? Because what's crazy is that I was more saying, well, okay, he can get 10 touches in the air, but like, what can he do with that? In reality, he's getting the touches on the ground and going crazy with it. If you think about it, 18 touches in week 3 against Denver, 11 touches against the Giants he is doing crazy things right now. But at the same time, looking at this in those first 4 to 5 games that he played, I think it's a little bit unrealistic, which would maybe skew our rankings. Sure. And when he does come back down to earth, where do we really rank him? Which we don't know as of right now. I would say. But yeah, I don't really have a question. I think I just want to put my 2 cents.
I'll just jump in just real quick, just to defend the Achane truthers out there like myself. Do we expect him to average 25.5 points per game?
No.
Of course not. Of course we don't expect him to average 25.5 points per game. But he's in the perfect offense. He's an extremely efficient player. And my opposite side of the coin is and this is where you and I have disagreed on Achane for a long time. Your concern has always been someone's going to come in, his role is going to be diminished. I've always loved him as like an 8 to 12 touch player per game. That's what I've said from day one. Mm-hmm. I cannot think of a running back that comes in outside of the names Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall. I cannot think of a single running back that comes into this offense and takes away 10 touches for Devon Achane when he's healthy.
Right.
I can't, truly. And I think if it's just my personal opinion, if people are worried about that, I don't think they respect Devon Achane enough. The threat that he is specifically in this offense with that speed and with that efficiency, it doesn't matter who's coming in. You have to, Devon Achane is the dude that you have got to get 10 touches a game to. I think he's more than proven that with it is a small sample size, but it's not one game. It's multiple games.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say is in 2023, Devon Achane, first in yards per attempt, 12 yards per attempt. Guys, he's on average, averaging a first down every time he touches the ball on the ground. His explosive run rate, these are runs percentage of his attempts that went for more than 15 yards, 18.5%, first in the NFL. His missed tackles forced per attempt, and this is what I was trying to encourage people throughout the pre-draft process. Yes, he's small, but he is one of the best through contact in the 2023 class. That's what I was trying to say.
Yep.
Look at this. So far in 2023, his missed tackles forced per attempt, he's 6th in the NFL. His yards after contact per attempt, he is 3rd in the NFL. So yeah, I mean, to me, he's an elite game-changing change of pace back that you get the ball to 8 to 12 times, and I think he's well deserving of being inside the top 10. He's my RB7, and yeah, there'll be boom bust games, absolutely for sure. I don't think any of us expect the Dolphins to continue to be on this historic pace every single game, game in, game out. But Devon Achane to me in what is already so much shakiness in an RB group, has proven that he's a top 7 asset in my mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I also will just say, by the way, Jahmyr Gibbs could have done something similar if he was in this Miami offense. So, in a way, situation does actually matter here.
Yeah, situation 100% matters. And I think that is my biggest thing, because I think that situation can change. But once again, I don't want to go too deep into it, but
Yeah, we'll just go around in circles.
Yeah, we'll just go around in circles. But I'm not saying that Devon is not in my top 10. I'm saying I am still concerned. He is my top 10 as of right now. I'm still concerned moving forward. And I haven't done, my scouting for next year's class, so I don't know how good or how deep or what type of talent that there is. But if there's a first round type of running back or a second round type of running back that can come in and take in over Devon, or like I said, a Saquon Barkley, a Josh Jacobs, even Tony Pollard, whoever the case may be, what is that workload for Devon going to look like? And is he going to be as efficient in years to come? But once again, give him his flowers.
Just to finish the conversation, let's say Josh Jacobs is a Dolphin next year. You don't think Devon gets 8 to 12 touches a game?
I do. I'm not disregarding that. I'm saying my concern is that he won't be the focal point of this offense, kind of like what he is right now, with or without Raheem Mostert, because I think they're both. That you can see that when Raheem's on the field with Devon, or when Devon's on the field with Raheem, it's a both 50-50 type of split, it feels like. Right. And he comes in and has these, which in reality, if you look at the numbers right now, he's only, right, like week 3, 41, right? That's nearly 50. Week 4, 60% of the snap share. And then week 5, 48. So that's a 50-50 split. Does that change to a less than 30 with someone like a Josh Jacobs, with someone like a Saquon Barkley? These are all hypotheticals. We don't know. If some of these guys don't go to this team, or if any of these guys don't go to that team, then Devon is easily a top 10 running back. That's why he's in my rankings as of that. Specifically, you guys can't see that, but me having that conversation, I'm just more concerned of what if a talented running back like a Saquon Barkley, like a Josh Jacobs comes in, what does this offense, what does that mean for Devon coming in? So that's
I don't think it changes anything.
Yeah,
but we're gonna have to agree.
And that's what we disagree. That's okay. Let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, because I think a lot of people want to hear about Jahmyr Gibbs as well.
Sure.
Very disappointing so far in the season. David Montgomery has gone down. As we're once again recording this video, week 7, he will miss time again. Let's see how many weeks he does miss. But we've seen David Montgomery miss week 3 of the season, but we didn't really see Jahmyr Gibbs unleashed. In that week against the Atlanta Falcons. Not only that,
19 touches.
Yeah, but I guess he didn't have that massive fantasy expectation. He got 12 fantasy points, or 9 fantasy points that week against the Atlanta Falcons, which really wasn't exciting if you are a top 12 NFL running back draft pick. Right? Not only that, we've also had in the last coming weeks that Dan Campbell did say David Montgomery is our workhorse, is our bell cow.
Yeah.
How can we move forward with Jahmyr Gibbs still being a top 10 running back with everything that we've seen so far? Because it's discouraging. Personally, I still have him higher than Devon, because I believe in that draft capital. I believe in this offense. I believe that he still hasn't been unleashed. But we have seen a lot of people say Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of done in this offense.
So, yeah, and I'm glad I have a chance to just clarify some things, because we did a video last week where we redrafted the 2023 class, and the context that we said is from the 104 to the 111, you could have it any way you want. And I don't want to disrespect Gibbs. I do think Jahmyr Gibbs will be better. However, it is also very clear to me that we have to adjust expectations when a team directly tells us how they plan to use that player and what his role will be, not just now, but for his career.
Right.
They are telling us he is not a workhorse back in their mind. I don't know that changes. David Montgomery's on a 3-year deal. So there will be what Gibbs needs to do is he needs to find the efficiency that Achane has had. Now, different players, you could make a case, honestly, dude. Like if we redid the 2023 NFL draft, do you think Achane goes ahead of Gibbs? Because I don't know. That's a question for a different day, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think Gibbs will be better.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't want to dive too much into tier 3 because we've already spent so much time.
Mm-hmm.
I think he will be better. He will have better games. He will be more efficient. He will have breakaway plays. He'll have those, ooh and ah type moments. He still has legit elite speed in an incredible offense. But I just don't think he has the same ceiling as the Travis Etiennes, as the Breece Halls, as the Ken Walkers. He's never going to be a 20 touch per game running back when David Montgomery is healthy. And when David Montgomery is gone, there'll be another running back that can carry the rock instead of him. It worked for them. This is what we talked about last year. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. As frustrating as it was for the DeAndre Swift fantasy owners, that worked in real life. That was very efficient for this offense in real life. They don't care about fantasy, right? They want to win games. So that's what I'll say on it, but I don't want to spend too much time.
Yeah, no, I understand. I would say this: if you're a Jahmyr Gibbs owner, ride the wave. You still got to believe in him.
Not time to sell.
Don't sell him whatsoever. This is the worst time to sell. And once again, hopefully he has. If David Montgomery misses 2 to 3 games, and he can show up and say, "Hey, this is why you drafted me top 12." Maybe they can understand. They can be reminded why they picked him that early.
I don't think, even if he goes off, I don't think Montgomery's role changes. But when he comes back, but I could be wrong.
Take us to tier 4 here.
All right, so lots to talk about. How much time have we spent already? I just want to be conscious of time.
What we can do, set the tier, and then we can.
Okay.
We'll come back. We have about 7 minutes.
All right. DeAndre Swift is the first running back I would put in this tier. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to eat some humble pie on him. Did not expect him to really dominate this backfield and should have accounted for how efficient he could be behind that offensive line. And I mean, no disrespect, but I'm not sure there's not 20 running backs in the league who couldn't do something similar. And I don't want to take away from Swift at all. Mm-hmm. What concerns me is people are going to be angry that he's not tier 3 or tier 2 or something, right? What concerns me is they just used and abused Miles Sanders and didn't sign him. Why would they do something different with Swift? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. That makes sense.
So you could be valuing him as a top 5 asset, and then he's not even on the Eagles next year. That's concerning to me. I would have Eckler here. I would have David Montgomery here. Happy to talk about that if we need to. I would have James Cook here. I would have Isaiah Pacheco, Javonte Williams, and the last person in this tier, which is the most difficult running back to value right now because he's not the most talented player, but man, he's in a role and the coach loves him. That is Kyren Williams. So that is my top 18 there. Any questions that you might have on that, let me know.
I guess let's just get straight into DeAndre Swift, currently RB7 through 7 weeks, averaging over 16 fantasy points per game. I understand the concern because what does that long-term commitment look like? If somehow they re-sign DeAndre Swift to a 2-year contract on a team-friendly deal, I think we're all excited to get him on our Dynasty team, and we're all willing to do that. But, all these guys, not all these guys, but, running backs that are on a 1-year contract, it's a little bit concerning because we don't know how that usage is going to look like on a different team. So keep that in mind.
Yeah,
but
I would easily rank Swift as a tier 3 player if he had a 2-year contract.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. I love DeAndre Swift here. And I think the one that I really want to talk about, because I think everyone here personally, and hopefully everyone, the community does value these guys in tier 4. I think the biggest one I do want to talk about is Kyren Williams.
Sure.
Kyren Williams, RB4 in the season, 18 fantasy points averaging per game. Obviously, he's injured. He might miss a couple of weeks here. But how are you selling Kyren Williams in Dynasty right now through 7 weeks? Because I'm on the side where I'm trying to sell him for as much as possible because doesn't matter who comes in, they're going to take his job away. That could be the likes of someone like a DeAndre Swift coming in next year. Tony Pollard, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, even some of these rookie running backs that they can be getting next year. I once again don't know the value or how talented this group is of coming into next year, but I would put my money that if that's a 2nd round running back or even a 3rd round running back, they're going to take that Kyren Williams job off of him next year.
I think it's certainly possible. I want to leave it open to the range of outcomes of a late round player that a coach fell in love with, that is talented and gets opportunity. You know, he's not the same talent as an Austin Eckler, but remember, like when Eckler took over that role when Gordon left, there would have been people probably selling him high as well, and then that wouldn't have worked out for them. Yeah, but the most likely scenario is that Kyren Williams is replaced soonish, okay? He's not a supreme talent by any means. He's not the fastest player by any means. Right now, his usage is what's getting him ridiculous fantasy volume. I took these numbers, I think, in week 5 or week 6. But Kyren Williams' usage so far in 2023, he has a number 1 snap percentage of any running back, over 83% of the snaps. His routes run per team dropback is first amongst running backs. His expected fantasy points is 4th. His team target share is 13th, and his rushing attempt share is 11th. So he is just a definition of like a high volume, running back. Right. How I've been handling it is in teams where I'm competing, let's ride the wave, baby. But in teams where I'm rebuilding, give me a late first, and let's call it a day.
Yeah.
That's how I've been. I'm not selling him for less than a first where I'm rebuilding, and I've seen multiple people pay that price. But yeah, so not someone I would say I believe in long term, but. And overall, I don't really trust Sean McVay running back since Todd Gurley, because it's been a slaughterhouse.
Yeah, you can't trust
rotating door. There. But yeah, it's someone that you want to sell if you are rebuilding, and someone that you can hold if you are trying to compete.
Yeah, completely.
But certainly not someone I believe in long term.
Yeah, completely agree. And just a quick notes here: Javonte Williams should be bounced back. We don't expect big things from him this year. He should still have some good opportunity coming into 2024.
And you know what? That offense and Jaleel McLaughlin as a whole is really concerning to me for his usage.
100%. Isaiah Pacheco also showing us up. I think humble pie as well.
Gotta give him props.
Yeah, RB13 on the season, over 14 fantasy points per game. He's doing this thing.
What I didn't account for, just quickly, is the change in this offense. This defense is legit. And that has given the Chiefs the opportunity to establish the run, and Pacheco's been a huge part of that. So props to him. Now, am I going to sit here and say he's a top 5 to 10 talent in the NFL? No, I strongly believe that's not the case. Do I believe he's replaceable? I'm sorry, people hate me, but yes, I do. But as of right now, again, I'm trying to rethink the way I view running backs in Dynasty. And right now, he should be valued where he is here, if not higher, where some people who love him will have him.
Love it. All right, take us through your tier 5.
All right, my tier 5, I'll just list them and then we'll answer any questions. Zach Charbonnet, I would have here. I'm not ready to fully give up on him just yet. Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is probably like a, Walmart off-brand version of Isaiah Pacheco for fantasy purposes. Gets volume, but is in a worse offense and is a worse player, actually, than Isaiah Pacheco. Alvin Kamara, I would put here. Rashad White. Rashawn Johnson, who still excited for. I still think he takes over that backfield by the end of the year. Ramondre Stevenson, not a guy I've loved for quite some time. Not a guy that I've put respect on. I'm sure there'll be some conversations around that. I think that he, in almost every category, has been a worse player this year. Analytically, specifically. I know the offense as a whole has been worse, so that has contributed to it. But not someone I personally see being an important part long-term to an offense, and I could be wrong. I will put Nick Chubb here, not ready to give up on him, and then Joe Moneybag Mixon. So let me know what questions you have. Happy to answer any there.
Yeah, any.
Look, I'm showing my bias with my Ramondre Stevenson hate. I'm sorry, like maybe I'm too harsh, but just not someone I really feel comfortable at all building around.
No, I guess let's start with him since we're kind of having that conversation, because I am a Ramondre Stevenson owner. I do believe a lot of the negative gameplay has come from the inefficiency from Mac Jones, the inefficiency for this offense to compete whatsoever. I feel like the only real good game that we saw from Ramondre Stevenson on the ground specifically was actually last week in week 6. 4 carries, 4.6 yards per carry, only 6 attempts on the ground. One of his best fantasy days so far. And we saw that offense, because I've been trying to watch as many New England games to really understand what's happening.
Bless your heart.
And it's been tough. But that was the best quote unquote performance that we saw from this offense outside of week 1 when they were dueling with Philly, right? It is frustrating as Ramondre Stevenson owner, and this is actually hurting him in his dynasty value long term, because he is going to go to his last year of his contract next year, which is going to be concerning if you have Ramondre, because what's going to happen with this? What if they get Caleb Williams? This offense is going to change. Is Caleb Williams really going to dump the ball down like Mac Jones? No. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't even have to be Caleb Williams. It could be anyone that comes onto the market. This offense is going to change, which is going to hurt Ramondre Stevenson long term. And those are the things I've kind of been thinking about as a Ramondre Stevenson owner. So if you do have Ramondre Stevenson, I would encourage, see what you can get for him. But maybe don't sell all of your stock. You know, I still believe in him in that way. But this offense is definitely going to be changing in, for sure, the years to come.
Just quickly, I talked about how he is the least efficient he's ever been, and I understand the offense has been bad. Yards per carry, he's 86th in the NFL. Explosive run rate, and those are runs over 15 yards, he's 55th. And his missed tackles forced per attempt, he's 78th in the NFL. So just the efficiency is not there. It's a bad offense, and that's hurt him. I'm also just going to say on the opposite side, he's contributed also to being part of a bad offense. It's not all on him, but he's certainly not completely clean of any, accountability, if you will.
Everyone else on this tier, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. Zach Charbonnet, let's see what happens long term. You don't sell him, you wait and hold. Brian Robinson, really getting some good workload. RB15 on the year so far. No one would expect it.
He feels so replaceable to me. That's what's concerning.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely feels replaceable. Alvin Kamara, let's see what happens next year. Does he go to a new team? He was already on the trade rumors coming into this year. Let's see where he goes. Rashad White, very interesting. Not the type of expectation.
Replaceable.
Yeah, not the type of expectation.
Replaceable volume.
Currently RB24 hasn't had a big crazy game, I felt like, but Baker Mayfield, this offense is better, which maybe hurts him. I think in the passing game with Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield and how they're kind of connecting. And Nick Chubb, man, what a disappointing
honestly, I think I might even bet on Chubb over Stevenson. I don't know if that's too drastic.
No, I can understand. I mean, if he does come back 100% next year, I can still see this offense running with Nick Chubb. They're going to bring him in slowly.
If I'm in a 1-year punt, I think I would do that trade. Chubb for Stevenson.
I get it. No doubt about it. And then Joe Mixon takes a pay cut this year to stay with this team, not living up to expectation. I think that's because of how inefficient this offense was. One of the biggest things for Joe Mixon was that he was scoring touchdowns. Through week 7, only scored 1 touchdown so far this year. Hopefully that changes in the second half of the season. But yeah, everything else I'm pretty on par with here. So if you want to take us through your tier 6, let's get it.
Sure. Yeah, all right. Tier 6, here we go. Najee Harris.
Oh, boy.
Kendre Miller, which we'll talk about. Najee. Aaron Jones, I would have here. Derrick Henry. Sorry, a guy that I haven't liked for a long time. I've taken a lot of heat for it. I just want a victory lap. Dameon Pierce. I'm sorry. I shouldn't victory lap. That's rude. Jerome Ford, Miles Sanders. That's rough. James Conner. And then I'll put Tajay Spears there, who, again, we probably didn't give enough respect heading into the year. But who do you want to talk about here?
I mean,
let me know.
Let's start off from the top here. Najee Harris.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. It has been terrible. This offense has been terrible. He's not even getting the workload in the air as of right now.
No, Jaylen Warren.
Jaylen Warren is getting the workload in the air. I don't see
that stopping.
I don't see this stopping. I don't see how it gets better next year or the year after or whatever it looks like for him. It's like a dead assay here. You're just the backup. It feels like.
I would say his days of being a workhorse, a true workhorse, are already over. As sad as that sounds.
Yeah, it's wild. So if you have Najee Harris,
and this is another example where not everything's on Najee, though. Similar to Ramondre, you could actually make the case that Najee Harris's offensive line is even worse, by far. One of the worst run blocking offensive lines in the league, by far.
For sure. I can definitely understand. I mean, does it get better on another team? I'm not necessarily sure.
I just don't think he signs for money that makes him a workhorse.
Exactly here. Kendre Miller, we haven't seen much of. He dealt with injuries coming into this year.
Mm.
Same thing with Aaron Jones. Haven't seen much of Derek.
I'll just say on Kendrick, I still think he's the future of that Saints backfield.
Okay.
I like him as a buy.
Well, I'm definitely interested to see Kendre. He got the workload in the air in his biggest outing so far this year. 12 attempts on the ground. But we'll wait and see what that looks like. Derrick Henry, this offense is better. I keep saying it. When they run the ball, they're just not running the ball. Run the damn ball. But maybe that's my bias with Durka there.
Yeah. The only thing I'll just say in reply is they know that they're not going to win a Super Bowl with Derrick Henry.
Sure.
So lowest yards, lowest attempts per game he's had in the last 5 years. The decline has come.
And maybe they revert back to that now that Ryan Tannehill is going to miss some time. We'll wait and see. My sweet prince and Dameon Pierce. This is what I've been saying for the past. This is what I've been saying for the past couple of days, really. Ever since, I was like, okay, it's gonna get better. Don't worry, it's gonna get better.
The offensive line.
The offensive line, but it's not really the offensive line. It's how efficient CJ Stroud is, which is hurting Dameon Pierce. He is not the running back that fits this offense, especially the way CJ's moving the ball. If CJ was struggling, maybe they run the ball a little bit more and they find a little bit more success. But what has been crazy is that CJ Stroud is breaking records as a rookie. He is leading this team down the field each and every single time. And he is not the quote-unquote pass-catching back that really fits in with this offense. Now, that is frustrating if you're a Dameon Pierce owner, because he was the guy that was getting the touches on the ground with someone like a Davis Mills who couldn't get the ball down the field.
Yeah.
So I don't think he is a quote-unquote bust as a talent. I just think that this offense has changed to a pass-heavy offense to where now Dameon Pierce doesn't necessarily fit this regime, which is unfortunate. And he's probably gonna, if I'm not mistaken, he does have another year on his contract, which means he is just gonna be in the wind.
He's replaceable to me. That's always been my concern, and I don't want to victory lap too early. Maybe he pops off, but my counter there is, and I hear you, like he's not the focal point of the offense, which is what people thought. My counterpoint is when the passing game opens up like that, that running game should be really efficient. You cannot stack the boxes like you did last year. I think Dameon Pierce deserves a little bit more accountability for his lack of efficiency.
Sure.
And specifically, even on the goal line. Like, you could see how deflated that team was when he couldn't punch it on the goal line multiple times. And we already saw last week, Devin Singletary took over the backfield. I'm not saying that's going to happen the rest of the year, but this could be 9 out of 10 panic alert. If Devin Singletary fits this offense better, because Dameon Pierce is not some supreme talent that's going to get picked up in free agency and be a workhorse for another team. He was a guy that they found in the 4th round that became a good value for them, and he's a replaceable talent, unfortunately. So, I don't know, just my opinion.
I hear you. Jerome Ford, my other sweet prince from 2 years ago. We love him. It looks like he is going to be in a 50-50 split with Kareem Hunt in this backfield, which makes sense. But I don't see too much of a big outcome for him in the future. Someone that's also been very disappointing so far is Miles Sanders in this offense.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it has been absolutely terrible. I'm not even sure where to start with Miles Sanders.
No, what I will say just quickly, though, is I might actually value him over these guys because he has that long-term contract.
Yeah.
He's been dealing with an injury. So there is still a chance that he becomes an efficient running back next year when the offense is a little bit better and there's less one dimension,
Yeah, I also think, Bryce Young is going to be better. And
oh, absolutely.
I think that was also a big struggling point of how nobody was really clicking on this offense early, and now you can kind of see Bryce Young hitting his stride just a little bit as the season progresses.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps out for Miles Sanders long term. And
for the sake of time, because I don't want this video to be too long. I think we're getting too long. Should we get to tier 7?
Yeah,
here?
Sure. Let's go for it.
Sorry, just for the sake of time.
Yeah.
I will put Raheem Mostert here, Jalen Warren, Tank Bigsby, Alexander Madison, Tyler Algier, and Khalil Herbert. That wraps up my top 40.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Perfect.
I will just say as well, if you guys want my updated, Badake's updated rankings in Dynasty, one quarterback superflex, go check out the Flock Fantasy website. Make sure you use our promo code LAND. That website is continually getting better and better and better, and there's so many cool tools that we're going to introduce in the next 5 to 6 months. Make sure you're using our promo code LAND. If you sign up to that Mother Flocker tier, you're going to get a Dynasty team breakdown. We're bringing them back, so make sure that you DM us if you use our promo code. But anything you want to ask me about here, I just want to be conscious of time.
No.
I know we have to record another video today.
I think the only other biggest thing here is for me, Alexander Madison. I was never really a big Alexander Madison believer.
Yeah.
And he's not really living up to that standard right now. And if you were somebody that brought Alexander Madison for a first-round pick, I think you're probably really, really regretting that at this very moment.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think everyone in this tier 7, you know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I would say a second rounder, I don't think it hurts too much if you bought him for that price, Alexander Madison, that is. But, you know, clearly he's a replaceable guy, without doubt.
Yeah. So,
but that's it for today, guys. Do us a favor, go ahead, drop a like. We'll see you in the next video. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.